The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hey, I'm Josh Spiegel, host of the podcast Lunatic in the Newsroom. If you enjoy journalism that drifts into mild panic, wild overthinking, and a guaranteed nervous breakdown, Lunatic in the Newsroom is for you. It's news like you've never heard before. The only newsroom with a panic button. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and gasp in horror as the show spirals completely out of control. It's not just news, it's emotionally unstable. Lunatic in the Newsroom. Listen today.
Looking for these better days.
It is Wednesday, March 25th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. It's opening night in Major League Baseball. No, not opening day. That's tomorrow. But tonight is opening night in Major League Baseball. We'll talk about the Yankees taking on the San Francisco Giants. Also, setting up the Sweet 16 with best bets. It's all right here for you on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. And joining me here is Joe Serralo, who is going to participate in our pod here for the Sweet 16 and for Major League Baseball opening day. Joe, before we get into some of the bets, what do you think about opening night in baseball? Because me personally, I hate it. I know ESPN started to do it with like the Sunday night game and things like that, but to me, opening day, and maybe I'm get off my lawn guy, but opening day is a holiday. Opening day is like, it's like the first day of the NCAA tournament. You wake up bright and early. You're all happy about the games. This reminds me of, and I talked to Colby Marchio about this yesterday, when Major League Baseball would have like the games in Japan to open up the season, but then the teams would come back and play spring training games before regular season games once again. I don't know. Do I need one standalone game here on Wednesday night? Can we just start the season tomorrow, opening day?
So here's what I'll say, Scott. To answer your question, no, none of us need the standalone game Wednesday night, and we certainly don't need it on a streaming service. I mean, come on, Netflix, the first baseball game of the season that actually counts is going to be on Netflix. That's absolutely ass backwards. This is better than the games that were over in Asia, 10 days before opening day for everyone else. It's definitely better than that because at least it's like a little tease, like, hey, here's one game that counts, and then opening day is tomorrow. But I'm with you. Opening day should be all 30 teams the same day, 15 games, spaced out, mostly day games. I do think there's something about opening day being a 1 o'clock local time start. Obviously, if you're going to space it out for TV purposes, you're going to need late afternoon and night games. But yeah, opening day, like you said, it's a holiday. It's a sacred, special, holy day. And it should all be 30 teams, one day, starting their season simultaneously.
Well, we do have opening night tonight, and it is the New York Yankees taking on the San Francisco Giants. Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees, and Logan Webb goes for the Giants. Right now up on FanDuel, the Yankees a short -122 favorite on the road, and the total is 7, and it is juiced to the under at -120. Whenever I see a low total with a Yankee game, Joe, I'm like, this is too good to be true. Like, I want to bet the over because it's the New York Yankees. That being said, we know it's a pitcher park there, and we have two aces on the mound in Max Fried and Logan Webb. Any thoughts on the total for tonight's game?
Yeah, it's like you said, it feels too good to be true. Obviously, Judge can put one out of all 30 parks, but Oracle Park, maybe as big of a difference as you're going to get from the bandbox that is Yankee Stadium as exists in baseball. So it's a really different park. It's probably, even though where I am in Southern California, it's gorgeous, probably going to be a bit chilly and a bit nippy up there in San Francisco on the water at this one. I would lean with the two aces on the bump actually towards the under. I feel like we talk about it maybe less in baseball and more in football. Hey, low total, give me the under, right? If it's in the 30s and the Steelers and Browns are playing, I'm going under. If it's in the 50s and it's the Lions and Cowboys, I'm going over. But that logic might actually apply here for an under. Ultimately, I'm not playing it. I'm looking at something in the prop market specifically, but I would lean towards the under, and I would actually lean towards the Giants with Webb on the bump at home.
All right, so this is what I looked up. I looked up since the start of the 2021 season, games in the month of March in Major League Baseball. So and this is not necessarily opening day, but I looked at games in the month of March and specifically the first game of a series. So some of these are opening day. Some of these are just like the second series that begins, if the season starts a little earlier, right, in March, and some teams could play 3 games, and then they play the first game of a series maybe on like March 30th or March 29th or whatever if the season starts a little bit earlier. So here's what I found. 37, 21, and 1 to the over in that situation. First game of a series in March since the start of the 2021 season. Home teams 30 and 29 straight up, but the totals 37, 21, and 1 to the over. Now, I'm curious if it's a line of 7, 8 and 2 to the over. I don't know. I kind of want to take it, Joe. I kind of want to take the over.
Maybe we shorten it and we go first 5, or you sit on it live and you see when the bullpens come in and then you try to take it over. I certainly have more faith in the starters than I do in either of these 2 bullpens, especially like David Bednar. You could look at him and say, oh, well, he should be closer to midseason form from the World Baseball Classic. There were also times where I was like, yeah, I don't love how he looks in the World Baseball Classic. So neither bullpen really intrigues me all that much. I might be leaning towards a live over there. I know the trend at 37, 21, and however many pushes tells you to go over. It also tells you, interestingly, on the sides that home field advantage opening day is null. It's pretty much a toss-up. I still can't get there. Webb at home, I can't get there on and over.
So this is what I might do. One of my favorite same game parlays to do in Major League Baseball is the anti-correlated same game parlay, where you do a first 5 under parlayed with a full game over. And so in games like this, where we have 2 aces or 2 elite pitchers, and the first 5 totals at 3.5, or, most games it's 4 to 4.5, right? And then you'll have the game total at 7 to 7.5, whatever it is. If you go Yankees and Giants, first 5 under 3.5, with full game over 7, up on FanDuel right now, that's plus 440. It's a fun little sprinkle. I know you're kind of threading the needle a little bit, but it happens more times than you think, where the starters just limit the offense and then the bullpens watch a game explode. And oh, by the way, if you get extra innings, it's just like a bonus on top.
Yeah. I mean, the value's there, like the odds of it, like you said, it's threading a fine needle right there, but the value is there. I would maybe lean towards more. You're not going to get anywhere near that value, but maybe towards the live over, just because if these guys are in a 1-0 duel after 5, you might be able to get a 4.5.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course you're going to get, the number's going to be it's going to be suppressed significantly, especially, listen, you get through the first 3 innings and it's scoreless. Your total's going to be like 5.5 or 4.5 for the full game. Yeah. Speaking of first 3 innings, do you do a lot of first 3 inning bets? I mean, I do a ton of first 5 inning bets. Last year was my first year that I really started to dive into the first 3 market. What do you think about first 3 inning bets?
It's not something I've gotten involved with. I'm more of a first 5 guy. I mean, look, pitching and pitcher props, really my specialty. With that, as the prop markets over the past, year or 2, as they've gotten sharper, I've expanded it from pitcher props to, also encompass the first 5. Because when you're handicapping the first 5, let's face it, you're handicapping the starting pitchers. So a lot of first 5 action on my end, not a lot of first 3.
Yeah, like I was curious last year. I started diving into some numbers, and the way that I was handicapping it was, and it was rough the first couple of weeks of the season, I'll admit. Like, it was a bad stretch, and then eventually what happens is, like, prior numbers don't mean shit, It's like a guy's numbers last season and 2 seasons ago don't mean shit if he gets out, if he, starts the season off hot or starts the season off cold, and then eventually you throw out your priors and you just go off of this year's numbers, right? So obviously your data points get better as you progress throughout the season. But what I was looking at when handicapping the first 3 innings as opposed to the first 5 innings were how guys did the first time through the lineup. Not so much in the first inning. I know everyone loves the nerfy-yerfy bets, right? And we look at how guys do in the first inning. But I was curious how guys do the first time facing a batter in a game. because you're only going to get that. You got 9 at bats, right? 9 first at bats over the course of a game. And that's usually what the first 3 innings is, right? If you face the minimum through 3 innings, you're facing everybody one time. And so I was trying to pick on guys that had really bad numbers if you look at their splits the first time facing a batter in a game, or had dominant splits the first time facing a batter in the game. Unfortunately, it didn't work out to start the season last year, but it did get better as the season rolled along. So I might try it again. I might try and look for some first 3 inning edges. You're shortening your chances, but I think it's an interesting part of the game to isolate.
Yeah, again, look, it's something that would be newer for me if I dive into it. I do think it's a better market to play around with than what you mentioned, the nerfy first inning markets.
Sure.
I feel like those have just gotten so juiced out of proportion the past couple of years. They really got popular, I want to say, around 2024. And last season, I just found very little value. I was doing a lot of nerfy 2024. Last season, I found next to no value doing it early. So I kind of abandoned and I kept it to first 5, props, and then full game sides.
Yeah, if you look at, let's see, people don't understand this when everyone loves betting like the nerfies and like they don't understand that the first inning is the highest scoring inning in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
it's like people don't understand that. It's like just bet the yes, okay? Like stop with the nerfies. Like yes, okay, it's gonna be fun. Like you got Paul Skeens, like you're gonna bet a nerfie. But the first run is the most runs are scored in the first inning, and like you're getting plus money the majority of the time with the yes. You're going to be profitable that way. Let's talk about opening day coming up tomorrow, as we naturally will have the aces take the mound for all of these teams. You're looking at the schedule, Joe, and you're going up and down. Paul Skeens, Freddie Peralta. I mean, Mets Pirates. I mean, that is going to be a phenomenal game. Especially we've seen Skeens already here. World Baseball Classic look good. Which game though have you looked at the schedule here for Thursday that you circled already that you are either most intrigued to bet or just most intrigued to watch?
I mean, not to sound biased, and I'm actually down on my Mets this year. Obviously, I'm a diehard Mets fan. Down on the team this year, but I think it's a good spot to bet them live. Now, you're getting nearly a pick 'em. They're about minus 120 pre-flop here on the money line. I think this is a really good spot to potentially sit on your hands, wait a little bit, and, have Skeens throw a few scoreless innings. If it's nothing, maybe even if Pittsburgh leads 1-0 around the 4th or 5th, fire away on a Mets ticket, because I don't think the Pirates are very good at all, Scott. And I think what you saw at Skeens in the World Baseball Classic Championship, that's what you're going to see all year. Guy goes out there and pitches 5-6 great innings and gets no run support. Plus, and, look, what happened in 1970 doesn't mean anything for 2026, but there's just something to be said. The Mets are the best opening day team of all time. I don't know why, I don't know how, but the Mets just perform really damn well on opening day. And I do think they're going to win this game. I just think the best value is going to possibly come in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th inning. So it's a bet I'd be looking to make live.
Okay. Elsewhere on the schedule, anything jump out to you with some of these? Maybe have any futures bets on some of these teams or some of these players that you're curious about here to see how they perform on opening day?
Yeah, I love the Mariners, man. I've got a future ticket on this Seattle team. Frankly, it's to win it all, 14-1. I think that they are the biggest threat to the Dodgers' three-peat potential. And, while I'm not going to run to the counter to lay 75 cents on them on a money line, there's going to be other ways I look to back Logan Gilbert in this team. Gilbert last year wasn't all that consistent. I do believe he deserves this opening day nod. I do believe, even though Brian Wu was fantastic, Gilbert's stuff probably the most electric in that rotation. And that says something. You've got him, Kirby, Wu. Miller can look like a front end of the rotation guy on any given day when he's on. And then you have Castillo, who almost feels like an afterthought, but used to be a perennial NL Cy Young contender. So it's a great rotation. I love the lineup. You get a full year of Josh Naylor. I expect Julio Rodriguez to look better this year than he did a year ago. And Brendan Donovan, while he doesn't have the pop Geno Suarez brought to the table, I think he's a better fit. He'll get on base more of a contact guy. Look, Geno had his postseason heroics. He kind of stunk in the regular season after the trade deadline there with Seattle. So I love the construction of this roster. Didn't even mention Big Dumper, who obviously brings 50 homers to the table. I think Seattle is a team that can and will win the World Series.
Wow. Up on FanDuel, Seattle minus 105 just to win the American League West. To win the American League, Seattle the second favorite behind the Yankees at plus 500. And to win the World Series, plus 1,200, the third favorite behind the Dodgers and the New York Yankees. The National League, if it's not the Dodgers, Joe, who is it?
This is tough for me because I'm actually down on all three teams that are projected to be atop the NL East. Mets, Phillies, Braves. I look at all three of those teams, and I've got stuff that I can pick apart there. I think the Mets lineup got worse. I think the Phillies are incredibly top-heavy, and the Braves, kind of like Philly, lack depth, except the Braves are already experiencing some injuries that they cannot afford to have this year. So, I look at their 3 win totals, right? Atlanta, 87.5, Philly, 89.5, Mets, 90.5. I think it's a shoo-in 2 of those 3 go under. I think there's a world where all 3 could potentially go under. So I look for threats for the Dodgers, and they're hard to find, man. Maybe the Chicago Cubs. I love the Edward Cabrera edition, but then again, they lose Tucker, who wasn't phenomenal last year. He was good. He wasn't phenomenal, but they lose him directly to the Dodgers. So, if he had gone to Toronto, it wouldn't matter as much. But it's not only they lost him, the Dodgers gained him. It really is tough for me to find a team that can stop LA in the National League. But I would probably be inclined to lean either the Cubs, or if Philly is just perfectly healthy in the playoffs because of their pitching, a Wheeler-Sanchez 1-2 punch could get the job done. But, I really don't see anyone doing it. No one in that division, certainly.
Yeah, Phillies 8-1 to win the National League, Cubs plus 950. How crazy is this? Up on FanDuel, the Dodgers minus 700 to win the National League West.
It's I want to say it's crazy. I want to say there's value elsewhere. It's not a bet I'd ever advise anyone to make, but where's the value elsewhere? I'm really low on San Diego. I gave them out over a month ago under 85.5 wins. Now you can't even find that number anywhere. I talk about top-heavy roster construction like Philly, right? No one's more top-heavy than the Padres. You have Pivetta and King and then crap in the rotation. The lineup, you've got Machado and Tatis and Merrill up top, and then there's a ton of uncertainty. The bullpen is that team's strength, and if they're not winning games by July, those guys could all be sold off by the deadline. So I'm low on San Diego. San Francisco is a big question mark. I kind of like Arizona for an outside shot at second place, but that's all you're playing for in that division is second place.
Yeah, it's the odds on the Dodgers are just it's unbelievable. We've never seen anything like this, and rightfully so. They're the best team constructed. They got the most money. They're spending it, and it's hard to envision them losing. Certainly there are teams that can do it, but I don't want to bet against them right now. All right, it's a big day tomorrow, Joe. Not only is it opening day in Major League Baseball, but it is also the Sweet 16.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every night. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into bigger wins. With the College Basketball Parlay Profit Boost, here's how it works. Build any college hoops parlay you like. The early tip, the rivalry game, the ranked matchup, the late night West Coast shootout, mixed spreads, totals, props, whatever fits your read of the slate. Then just apply your profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go spicy, go with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style. Now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com/believe to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Minimum 2-leg parlay required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable Boost Builder tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amounts. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. For Louisiana, call 1-877-770-7867.
So let's talk NCAA tournament. First off, how's your Final Four looking? Did you lose any Final Four teams yet? Did you lose any Elite Eight teams yet? I lost an Elite Eight team. I lost Gonzaga, that they lost to Texas, so I lost a team there in my Elite Eight. But I didn't lose Florida because I had them losing to Vandy. So I actually lost Vanderbilt in my Elite Eight also. But all four of my Final Four teams are still intact. What about you?
Yeah, you and me both. Final Four is still intact. I did lose Florida to the Elite Eight, but I've got Houston taking them down. Look, I'm just going to jump right to it. I've got Houston cutting down the nets at the end of this thing. So I had the Cougars over the Gators in the Elite Eight, and then I also lost Gonzaga there. Don't mind that too much. I mean, the brackets, they are what they are, right? I feel like as you get older, it's more about the bets, less about the brackets. They were certainly fun when I was younger. I'm not even in any bracket competitions anymore because I'm focused for ROI on day-to-day gambling. I'm not, same reason, and this is maybe an unpopular take. I don't play fantasy football. There's just nothing to be gained out of putting my time into fantasy football compared to what I can do in the NFL on a week-to-week basis and in college hoops on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I lost. I did here in Vegas, Stations Casino's Last Man Standing contest for college basketball, and it started with almost 2,800 entries, $55,000 prize pool. And after the first 2 days of the tournament, over 2,000 entries were eliminated. We had 700 and something entries going into the third day. And then going into day 4, about 450 entries. I had 3 entries left on day 4. I shoved all 3 on St. John's minus 3.5 over Kansas, only to watch the Johnnies allow a 16-4 run in the closing minutes and win on a buzzer-beating layup. They win by 2. I get eliminated from Last Man Standing thanks to the non-cover by the Johnnies.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kick in the nuts. And I was right there with you. I had the Johnnies minus 3.5. We could cut to the chase if you want. I think that as much as that one hurt, I think it helps them in terms of their odds of covering against Duke. Because even though they won, all those guys are here in practice from Rick Pitino. Is you let that team that can't shoot to save their lives get in the game after blowing a 14-point lead. Like, that's all they're hearing from Rick Pitino. You guys were good, but you're not great. You're still not great. Like, I mean, there is no better motivator of men than Rick Pitino. Look, I've got St. John's in my Final Four.
So do I.
Some of my ballsier Final Four picks here can be the difference between an incredible bracket or it going up in flames in the Sweet 16. But St. John's and Arkansas, I've got to the Final Four. And I would not obviously take the St. John's team, as much as I love the players and as talented as they are, if it weren't for Rick Pitino. I'm looking at this game more than anything as Pitino versus Shire. 12-1 in the Sweet 16, Rick Pitino, versus 3-0 in the Sweet 16, because he had in a first or second round loss in year 1 in John Shire. So only one combined Sweet 16 loss here between the two. And I have the Johnnies winning. My bet is them plus the 7. But this defense is suffocating. It's 94 feet of hell. And even when the shots aren't falling, you'll notice a lot of teams, especially you're dealing with young college kids here, poor offense will negatively impact their defense. That's not the case with St. John's. Even when the shots stop falling, their defense is still A1. And Zuby and Bryce are playing out of their minds. Ian Jackson, his ability to hit a big shot has really wowed me down the stretch here since their blowout loss at UConn. Scott, since then, they've trailed for like 38 seconds combined.
Yeah.
The difference between St. John's and other teams that Duke has faced, look at what TCU did to Duke. It's a blowout when you look at the final score. It was tied with 15 minutes to go. St. John's isn't going to stop with 15 minutes to go. It's going to be 40 minutes of pressure on a pretty banged up Blue Devils squad I do think they cover the 7.
I love it. It's down to 6.5 right now up on FanDuel. The other way that I was possibly looking to attack this is looking at the Duke team total under 73.5 points. You mentioned the St. John's defense, right? If St. John's is going to cover this game, it's going to be because they shut down the Duke offense. I mean, this is a Duke team that only scored 71 points against Siena in the first round game. And then scoring the 81 against TCU was because they pulled away late, but for the entirety of the game, they weren't on pace to score 80-something points. I don't see them.
Of those were in the final 15 minutes.
Exactly. I don't see them scoring 74 points here against St. John's. I think if they win, it's going to be like a 70-67 type game against the Johnnies. So I do, or St. John's just wins outright, and St. John's wins, 75-71 or something like that. So I might be more inclined, instead of the full game under, to just go with a Duke team total under, because it's either Duke wins in a low-scoring game, or St. John's wins and they limit Duke scoring.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a slugfest. Either way, those numbers I think are pretty sharp, so I'm not running to play the total, but I am running to grab the points. And I do think St. John's covering, there should be a correlation there with the under, because it's not impossible, but it's unlikely that this Johnny's team is going to go up there and put up 80.
Yeah, total right now 141.5 up on FanDuel. Elsewhere in the Sweet 16, Texas, the Cinderella out of the SEC. Come on, it's amazing, right? It's like they're not a Cinderella. They're a power conference team that in the beginning of the season was projected a top 5 or 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's just then they had a bad stretch during the season. It happens. But Texas against Purdue 6.5 point favorites. That number's juiced actually, so it could be higher. Total of 148.5. Any lean or play on that one?
Yeah, nothing official in that one, and I don't know if I'm going to get to the counter there. That number coming down surprised me, although you did mention the juice, because I was looking at 7s and 7.5s.
Yep.
I don't want to take too many points now that both teams are going to be rested, and Texas,
Sure.
I mean, Miller's got those guys fighting. There's such a talent discrepancy, though. And the Longhorns, I don't think, can shoot with this Purdue team. Question is, can they defend with this Purdue team? And that could keep them in the game. I lean towards laying it with the Boilermakers. Miami was a very sexy, popular pick plus the points, and then Purdue pulled away late. I could see this one kind of going the same way as that Purdue-Miami game.
Okay. Iowa, Nebraska, the two darlings here. One of these teams is going to play in the Elite Eight, which is wild. Nebraska, a 1.5 point favorite. I read a lot of articles about the Nebraska fans traveling down to Houston, so they claim that they might have the building. Iowa, it is a very interesting trend that exists here. When you come off a double-digit upset in the NCAA tournament, you do not do well in the follow-up games. It's something that's consistently gone against you. I believe it's in the Sweet 16, you are 0-6 straight up if you had a double-digit upset in the second round.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bad trend. Those teams didn't have McCollum coaching them, though. I mean, this guy is out of his mind. He could have any job he wants, potentially, whatever openings there will be. Not that he probably wants to job hop after, just year one in Iowa, but you look at what he did in D2 and then at Drake and now with Iowa. I'm really sold on him as one of the best emerging coaches in the country. It's hard to go against him. What Hoiberg's done here in the second act with Nebraska, bringing them back from the dead, the Lazarus effect on that Huskers Hoops program, man, it's impressive as hell. These teams have already seen each other because of conference play. I mean, Nebraska's just so good from beyond the arc. I lean towards the Huskers, -1.5, but this is going to be an ugly game I don't want to touch, frankly.
Yeah, I'm looking at, in the history of my database at least, it's only 2 games, 0-2, straight up, coming off of a double-digit. You were double-digit dogs in the second round, and then you won, and now you're in the third round here of the NCAA tournament. All right, let's move on to Arkansas and Arizona. Now, you said you have Arkansas in your Final Four. That upsets me because I have Arizona winning the national championship. Arizona laying 8.5. I do agree that 8.5 might be too much here in this game, but sell me on why Arkansas wins outright.
Man, that pace and that tempo. Look, these are two teams that have kind of similar offensive game plans. The differentiating factor here is Arizona's defense, which is suffocating. Arkansas admittedly does not have a great defense. But while the Wildcats play great defense, they don't generate turnovers anywhere near the rate that you would expect. And so I don't think it's really going to hinder Arkansas's ability to get shots up. Now, the quality of those shots, that's where Arizona's defense comes in sense of altering them. But Arkansas is an offense that thrives on volume. And both of these teams are attempting over 43 twos per game. Both of them are hitting over 55% of their twos per game. Difference here, 3-pointers. Arizona's efficient, but they take among the lowest mark in the country. I believe they're bottom 10, bottom 12 team in the country in threes attempted per game, fewer than 17. Arkansas has taken about 23 per game. So for Arkansas, are the threes falling? That might be the difference here. I think they cover, but the difference between do they win or do they lose, are you hitting from beyond the arc? Because if you're just trying to trade twos, well, Arizona's a better defensive team. They probably will be a little more efficient. But I think that the Razorbacks with three-point shooting and free throw shooting, two big edges they have over Arizona, I think that's what they're going to need to win this one outright.
Darius Acuff Jr. is, 125-1 to be the number one overall pick in the NBA draft.
Wow.
Why? Like, I'm sorry. I'm not taking Darren Peterson number one. I want no part of him. AJ DeBanza, okay. Cameron Boozer, if Duke continues to go on a run here. But if Acuff, who continues to shine here, and we're seeing all these other coaches come out and talk about how talented this kid is, why not Acuff 125-1 to be the number one overall pick in the draft?
There's a reason John Calipari's guys have made billions of dollars after their collegiate careers, man. I'm with you. I didn't know that number was so freaking long. I would certainly take a flyer on it. If I'm drafted number one and I'm an NBA general manager, I mean, unless we have a great point guard on lock, which, spoiler alert, if you're drafting number one, you probably don't. I mean, he's the guy. To me, like you said, I'd rather have Acuff over Peterson. I'd rather have him over DeBanza. I'd rather have him over Boozer. Boozer's interesting. I think Boozer has a high floor, but I think his ceiling might be somewhat limited in the NBA. And I'm not knocking him. I'm curious, I'll say, as to how his game will transfer to the NBA. I think the floor is high. I don't think he's going to be a bust by any means. But I don't know if he'll be number one pick worthy. I think Darius Acuff is the best player in the country right now. And at 125-1, I don't know if it hits, but on principle alone, I might have to take a little stab there.
So Shams had an article yesterday about Acuff signing a signature shoe deal with Reebok, right? And how he is Jeremy Wu's big board has him at number 8 overall. But listen, if they win again here and they upset, number one Arizona, which would hurt my, Arizona national championship bet, and he winds up being like the tournament most outstanding player, 125-1 on Acuff to be the number one overall pick. I'm saying there are worse bets you can make. Illinois
overall pick, but look at what the NCAA tournament and the Big East tournament did for Kemba Walker's draft stock.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he was nowhere near projected on draft boards to go where he ultimately went prior to that run. UConn, I believe they played day one of the Big East tournament that year. I think they were the 9 seed out of 6.
5 straight games, 5 in 5 days or something like that. Yep.
They went from 9 seed in the Big East tournament to 3 seed in the NCAAs and eventual champs. So a run in the tournament, I think certainly can alter some opinions, and there's something to be said for guys who are winners. I'm sorry, you can call it old school. Some people, maybe analytics nerds, will say, oh, you can't quantify that. There is something to be said for guys who are winners.
I agree, which is why I think Boozer gets more consideration here at 5-1. Kid's a winner. Houston, Illinois, I think we're both in agreement here. I've already given it out as a best bet. I've already bet Houston -2.5 up on FanDuel. They're up to 3.5 point favorites now. The fact that I can't stress it enough. This is a home game. The Elite Eight will be a home game. It's a mile away from campus. It's an arena that they play in every single year. They played in it earlier this year. They scored 85 points in a win over Florida State in this arena earlier this season. The home court advantage and just being able to sleep in your own bed, practice in your own facility, deal with the home cooking, and then you have the crowd to boot. I think it's just too much for anybody to overcome here against Houston.
Yeah, so I'm glad you already made that point, so I don't have to try to sell you on why I handicapped this as a home game for Houston and a road game for Illinois as opposed to a neutral. And Illinois, when they go on the road, their offensive numbers don't waver. In fact, some of them actually get better. Their defensive numbers waver big time. just 44th percentile in defensive rating on the road. They don't generate turnovers, man. Like bottom 5 in the country at generating turnovers. Under 10% of opponent possessions result in a turnover. Houston at home, number 2 in the country. Over 22% of opponent possessions result in a turnover. They are second in defensive rating and third in that turnover percentage number. It's a home game for him. The crowd's on their side. Kelvin Sampson wants this so badly. He should have had it last year against Florida, man. He had it within his grasp, and I think this is the year Houston gets it done. It's why I have him cutting down the nets in my bracket. You know, look, there's no such thing as a day off in this tournament, but if they get past Illinois here, I think they know that this is their toughest task to get to the Final Four. They know Iowa and Nebraska are not Illinois. They just got to get through this one, and they can't take their foot off the gas, but they may not have to be as sharp in the Elite Eight as they will have to be in the Sweet 16, which is a rare thing to say in this tournament. I like you laid 2.5 instantly, and I would still lay 3.5.
Yep, I would too. Michigan, a 10.5 point favorite over Alabama. UConn, 1.5 point favorites over Michigan State. This is one that I don't agree with. I love Sparty here. It's 1.5, so it's a short line, so it's essentially like picking the winner here. Although, listen, games do end on 1. You could get a buzzer beater. You never know. Take the 1.5. Okay. I think Sparty wins this game. I have not been impressed with UConn for the past, 3 weeks? You know, I mean, I haven't. When was the last time we saw UConn play a complete game of basketball? And don't tell me the UCLA game was a complete game of basketball, because if like that Mick Cronin bullshit technical foul came at the worst time for them, because that game was pretty much still in reach, and then that technical foul, 2 shots and possession, it was a 4-point swing. It changed everything. And then, of course, obviously UCLA playing without their leading scorer in that game to just throw on top here. Meanwhile, Michigan State, I think, has just looked great. They have clicked. They looked good in the Big Ten tournament. I thought they looked good in the last game of the regular season against Michigan. Like, I think Michigan State rolls here over UConn.
Interesting. So we're on opposite sides on this one. And look, I agree with what you're saying about Cronin and the technical foul. But to UConn's credit, when there was blood in the water, they attacked. And they didn't let UCLA get back in the game. These teams, stylistically, totally different. And it's actually uncharacteristic of a Tom Izzo team to be as poor on defense as Sparty has been this year. In their last 10 games, they're just, I want to say, around the 33rd percentile in defensive rating in their last 10 games. And I was really disappointed with their Big Ten tournament performance. UCLA stinks in the Eastern and Central time zones. I mean, it's been a thing that's been documented. We've discussed it against the spread. When Mick Cronin has to travel beyond the Mountain Time Zone, fade them, and they beat them outright in Chicago, 88-84. When is a Tom Izzo team with that big of a geographical and crowd advantage allowing 88 points? This team's defense is really concerning. Now, their offense is also better than your standard Sparty team, and they're an incredible team from 3, which UConn is not. UConn, much better from 2. It's hard to win when you trade 2s for 3s, but I think the Huskies defense is the difference maker here. Michigan State, not great turnover numbers. UConn does force turnovers, and I think Dan Hurley in the Sweet 16, look, I'm not going to say he's an advantage over Tom Izzo. Izzo is one of the all-time greats, but Dan Hurley is just as good, and his team, unlike most, one of the few actually getting healthier as this tournament progresses versus getting more worn down. I like UConn to win this one.
Total 135.5. Would you think over because of how porous Michigan State has been on defense?
Yeah, I would think over. I think this game is probably going to land with both teams in the low 70s.
Okay. Final game, Iowa State, Tennessee. Iowa State, 4.5 point favorites. If Jeffries is back, which I got to assume he is because they listed him as questionable for that second round game, and I bet against them stupidly because I thought that his loss was going to mean a better game there for Kentucky against Iowa State. Boy, was I wrong. And the big factor that I should have considered was the kill shots. Evan Miyakawa does a great job. He created the kill shot stat, which is how many 10-0 runs you go on over the course of a game and how significant that is to you winning college basketball games. Nobody in the country averages more kill shots per game than the Iowa State Cyclones. 1.26 kill shots per game this season. Hard for me to bet against Iowa State here in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking them. I'm just waiting on the number to see if some Tennessee money comes in here. And look, that could always backfire, but I would lay 5 flat. If it got to 5.5, I think Iowa State could win this game by double digits, frankly. I mean, I love this Cyclones team. Even with the injury, I laid this exact number, 4.5 against Kentucky. I believe that one got to 5.5. It's just when I think of teams, take offense, and Jefferson being out hurts, he's their second leading scorer. Take offense out of the equation. When I think of teams that harass you for the full 94 feet, for the full 40 minutes, I think of 3 teams that are still alive. St. John's and Houston, we've touched on, and Iowa State. And that was how they stayed in that game against Kentucky. They were down 30-23. They couldn't buy a bucket, but Kentucky had double-digit turnovers in the first half. And that enabled the 8-0 run to end the half, the 31-30 lead, and it was just history after that. I felt they were up 1 at halftime, and I felt so confident at halftime my minus 4.5 was in the bag. And that was my biggest bet of the round of 32, so that was a massive one. Cyclones, I talk about Houston and that 22% turnover percentage when they're at home. In their last 10, Iowa State's turnover percentage is at 21.6%. That ranks second in the nation in their last 10 games. Tennessee, kind of an anomaly. They're not as good of a shooting team as Kentucky. They're just, in their last 10 games, 33rd percentile, the lower third in the nation in offensive rating. How do they score? What do they rely on? Second chances. They're number 1 in offensive rebound percentage. 45% of their shots they get the offensive board on. Iowa State's a pretty good rebounding team. Iowa State's a terrific defensive team. I don't think Tennessee is going to enjoy all those second chance opportunities. And if they're not making buckets on their first attempt, they're going to be in for a long day. I think the Cyclones win this one by double digits.
Good stuff, and great stuff here on this episode, Joe. Really can't thank you enough. Great insight as always. You guys can always follow Joe Serralo on Twitter. Tell the people what your Twitter handle is, Joe.
Yeah, at the Joe Serralo on Twitter, at Joe Serralo on Instagram. And Scott, I want to leave everyone with this. We talked about the total and the side, Yankees-Giants opening night. How about a little prop action? And this is something I typically don't look at opening day or even the first time or two through for these starters. But Logan Webb's outs recorded. You can get over 16.5 at even money. Now, usually guys have a short leash their first time out there. Logan Webb's not one of those guys. He's made opening day starts before. He's gone 6 full innings on opening day before. He's gone 6-7 innings in every start through March and April. And that was, I believe, 2023. But he's gone in his first 6 starts, at least 4 of them 3 straight years have been 6+ innings. So the guy is an innings eater. He's efficient, and he has some of the gnarliest home and away splits out there that benefit him when he's at home. So I do like Logan Webb over 16.5 outs at practically even money.
And he's built up because he pitched in the World Baseball Classic. So he is a little bit stronger than he normally would be in a typical opening day start. He is Joe Serralo. A couple of reminders. We will have the plays for Better Day Insider and Premium members. We'll post a free play this weekend or for the next couple of days here, especially for Major League Baseball, up on the homepage at betterday.com. Colby and Jake will be doing a live stream of their Off the Board podcast coming up tomorrow for Major League Baseball opening day and the Sweet 16 as well. So that will stream live on the Better Day Twitter page and the Better Day YouTube account. We'll also post the podcast on the Better Day podcast feed. Don't forget to follow Joe Serralo on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Kid's got an incredible smile. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
Has the news been getting you down? I'm Megan McArdle, and I'm here to help. I'm the host of a news show from Washington Post Opinion called Reasonably Optimistic, and it's an antidote to the pessimism that's riddling America right now. Every Wednesday, I'm going to talk to people who see a path forward.
It does seem to me that there is some awakening of a desire to act together, to solve problems where they are.
You know, I am a believer in America, and it's worth fighting for.
Join me Wednesdays on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.